Hi everyone, back again. So for this speaking assignment, the first question was discuss your ideal life. What do you think is important for every family to have experience to be able to do? I think that every family should, ideal family life should have members of family should have love, respect, communication, and family time, and also just like learning how to create roles that are healthy, roles and boundaries as well. And then basically who does care work under what conditions. So basically, based off of the reading, women from poorer nations do care work for like wealthier people. And the relationships, so relationships between those who are care workers, they're usually poor, don't make much minority women. Because women are mostly are the predominant gender that do care work, based off of like the stereotype and also the need in certain societies for women to, be nurturing, be caring, care for, if they have older relatives, things like that, and also children. And I think that the thing that's making care work central today is there's a lot of, based off of the reading, that there's a lot of like families where they have more of like older parents, and the younger children have to care for the older parents, and also because women are having kids like later, the women now have to take care of their kids while as they're older, and also like I said before, like the idea of care work is being so centralized today because like I said, like women are being pushed to they're in certain societies, they're the ones who are the nurturers, the home givers, they're the ones who are supposed to be taking care of everybody. So therefore, because of that like idea in many societies, care work for women is so like pushed now. And I think that this definitely does affect the idea of family life because it's like you have one person gender taking care of everybody else. Like you have a woman and how she's taking care of her kids, she's taking care of her older parents, she's taking care of her husband. And I feel like that can put a lot of pressure and stress on the woman because it's like now, like, you're a working woman and then once you come home, you have another job that you're not even paid for, instead of, being in a family dynamic where your husband can also, or your wife, or your partner can like also help out with like other things when you're not around, where it doesn't have to, the roles don't have to be on you as a woman, because like especially like I said, like care work is really surrounded around like women, and the women have to do it, the men really don't. It's like once a woman clocks out of her job, that's her first job, and then her second job is taking care of her home. And so basically the next question was drawing to film this chapter, elaborate on the ways poverty affects parenting. So poverty definitely affects parenting in many ways. I think that the first way is it allows parents to not really be able to spend quality time with their kids, and that also can also lead to like negative development of their children's development, and also emotional development, like not being able to spend time with your parents, not being able to rely on somebody emotionally, having to what's it called, having to suppress your emotions because you're if you're a child who lives in a house where guys are making much, your parents are always working, trying to provide and afford things for you, and then you don't really get to spend emotional time with your parents to be able to talk to them about things. So you learn how to suppress your emotions, and also you also have to learn how to be independent, because if your parents aren't around to do certain things for you because they have to work late, now you have to figure out, okay, now I have to do this by myself. And it also can allow kids to become hyper independent, which isn't healthy, and do things at a very like young and early age. And then welfare mothers, it's a constantly contested political issue because 9% of spending on the safety net goes to support programs that most people believe are essential to society. So like the programs, the welfare programs, most people believe that society should already have those programs already. Like it should already be something that people should have. It shouldn't be like a program, like it's an essential need to society that society must provide. So and so basically when chapter 8, question 4, chapter the question 3, drawing on several actions throughout chapter 8, make a statement about how masculinity is linked to violence. Masculinity is definitely linked to violence because like men, that stereotype of men have to be aggressive, they have to be able to stand up for themselves, they have to be able to you know, be strong. And it's like that can definitely lead to violence, because it can lead men to kind of have this mentality that like, if they're not a real man, if they don't act this way, so if they don't act this way, if they're not violent, if they're not stern, if they're not a real man. And I think that can definitely cause men to do certain things in society to be able to prove their masculinity in certain, like, you know, scenarios and certain, you know, situations where, like, you know, they would have to do things in order to prove that, yeah, I'm a man, I'm, you know, so that can also be linked to violence. So they can sometimes do things that are not safe, you know, and in order to prove a point, in order to prove that they fit a certain box, a certain stereotype in society to be seen as manly. Um, and so what does it mean to say that prisons are a form of institutionalized gender violence that targets men in particular? So basically prisons definitely target men in particular, basically kind of like with the whole idea of like mass incarceration with the Black African American men, targeting them specifically, and then also talking about gender violence in prisons, like men, a lot of men, you know, raped in prisons, they're sexually assaulted. And even the reading, it mentioned about like Nigerian men, LGBTQ Nigerian men who are like like not, they're probably raped, and also like, you know, violence is inflicted upon them in prisons because, and they don't have like legal protection, all because of their like sexuality. um and it can also lead to the next question, like that's basically why like this is also an example why gender-based violence, including sexual violence against men in prison, evident, as we saw like with the rape, like I said, with men being sexually assaulted in prisons, and also like the men who also identify with LGBTQ community or who are gay, yeah, men who are gay or queer, or bi trans, basically like they have to, what's it called? They're faced with violent situations in prison because of their identity. Not just in Nigeria, but I feel like here too as well. Um, so 5 says one of the key factors is social construction of men, because men are supposed to take risk in order to count as real men. What are some kinds of risk taking that might be associated with higher heart rates of disease? So I feel like the kind of risks that men like take, like I said, they definitely tend to be more violent, and they also tend to be more what's it called, hostile. And the hostile, and there's also that need to also be like, you have to achieve so much in so little time, and that's like called a type A pattern according to the reading. And that can lead to heart disease because it's like you're constantly like doing something, going around, running around, and your body can also lead to burnout too, because like you're overworking your body in order to prove a point, and then therefore you can neglect your body because you're so focused on like your mentality that you neglect your physical body, because you're so focused on achieving a certain goal and a point in order to be proven as manly, you know, in order for that masculinity that men want so bad to be proven by, you know, their peers or whatever. And it can also lead to heart disease. And so a website, um that I found, a website, I looked up like how to avoid heart disease, and the two things I think would be easier for women to follow than men is manage stress in order to avoid heart disease, and get regular health screening tests. Because first off, the manage stress, because men have a trouble managing stress, because again, masculinity is based off of the whole idea of stress. Like if you're not stressed as a man, you're not doing something. Because men, you know, the stereotype mentality of masculinity is a man has to be hardworking, he has to provide for his family. And sometimes being hardworking or being in such a environment where work is like the main thing comes with what, stress. So therefore, like, they're so in stressful situations, so they don't know how to manage stress because they're so used to environments that create stress. So, you know, and I feel like that would be definitely hard for a man to do, to kind of like rewire his brain to de-stress when his brain has been programmed to stress all the time. Yeah. And then also like getting regular health screening tests. I think that, I personally believe that women take better care of themselves than men in terms of health. Like a lot of men disregard their health because, one, they don't want to be vulnerable, and they don't want to be seen as like, why do I have to go to the hospital, da da da. It's kind of like ego too, and pride, like, oh my gosh, like, what do you mean I'm sick? Like, I feel like when a man is sick, he feels like he's not able to perform his manly duties or like be masculine because he's down, you know, and he's like in his most vulnerable spot. Like I feel like vulnerability for some men equals like a decrease in masculinity. And so when that happens, it's like guys freak out because they're not able to do their duty as a man. So I feel like it's definitely easier for women to follow these things, because I feel like women, I think we take our health very seriously. Anything pertaining to our health, we do like well. Because I feel like we're good with stressing and also learning how to de-stress as well and like calm down as women. And yeah, this, like I said, it definitely goes in hand with the construction of masculinity, because it's like masculinity, then again, like I said, men don't want to be masculinity does not allow men to be vulnerable. So like when you're, in a doctor's office and they're checking you out, you're kind of in a vulnerable situation. Like, what do you mean you're telling me, excuse me, what do you mean you're telling me like I'm not like well or this? So I think that it definitely goes hand in hand with like conflicting against social masculinity.